This time on House of Duel, it's all about the RTX series gauges from Dakota Digital. We're gonna go over the install and setup on our 4-eyed Foxbody here, so stay tuned.
Yeah, that's rad. Yeah. Hello YouTube, it's me again. It's Mike, your friendly Foxbody guy. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to my garage. Welcome back to Project Eagle Bru's. Okay, we're gonna deal with the gauges today. Okay, the gauges. So when you're doing a modern engine swap on a Foxbody Mustang, whether it's Godzilla, Coyote, in this case a 2.3 liter EcoBoost in our little coupe here, whatever it might be, you could definitely run the old gauges. Okay, I had planned on running just the stock gauges and then putting sensors into the EcoBoost motor here that the stock gauges would read. So, you know, speedometer, we're good there because I've got a T5. Okay, we'll put the cable, good. Fuel gauge, we're good, right? It's got a stock Mustang gas tank. It's been upgraded to a EFI one, so we'd be good there. But things like oil pressure, things like volt, things like, you know, tachometer, engine temperature, stuff like that, you gotta get kind of creative. Now it's doable, it's 100% doable. And like I said, I kind of plan on just keeping the stock gauges, but I found something better I just could not say no to. Guys, you know where we're going here, okay? Let me show you, you gotta see this. Well, I guess before we, hey, you know what? If you guys know me by now, you know that I'm always like, hey, let's get right to it. Or, hey, you gotta see this, let's do this right now. But you always know I never do that. I'm like ADD YouTuber here, so I'll be like, hey, let's do this right now. Let me show you this right now. And guess what happens? I'm like, hey, squirrel. Let's look at this first. Well, let's look at this first. In case you're unfamiliar with this project, it is a 79 Mustang Coupe. We call Project Eagle Bru's, okay? Eagle Bru's, not EcoBoost, ego. It's supposed to bruise your ego, okay? I didn't come up with it. Actually, I did. I totally came up with it. That's fine. It is a 79 Coupe, of course, with a EcoBoost swap. We are doing this the clean way. It's not a race car, not really a show car. It's just my car, okay? And this thing is obviously receiving a 2.3 liter Mustang, 2.3 liter EcoBoost from a 2015 Mustang, and it was important to me to keep the factory look. I wanted the engine bay to look like Ford built this car back in 1979. Technology for engine was a lot, you know, better than it was in 79, and they threw this 2.3 liter in this body style. What's cool about this car is it was a carbureted 2.3 liter. I wanted to keep the roots of the car, the same spirit of the car, but upgrade it. It's running a Volvo power steering, hydraulic electric pump, AJE K member. Thank you, AJE. They run a K member that allows for this swap. DeWitt's radiator, and everything has been ran wiring wise. We are underway. It's in mock-up stage. Everything is going to be pulled off the car and back on. We got Brembos, Cadillac Brembos up front here. We got ESR wheels, 18 by 10.5, 18 by 9s. They're gonna go in the back, the axle's back there. So the car is underway. We got these badass hood hinges from Thomas Hill. Okay, Fiddle Fart Fab. So yeah, the project is underway. The seats, interior, keeping it red. It's very important that it's kept red and wood, okay? I'm going with the, you know, the high school girl car look, right? This is the chick car, but way cooler. So definitely just a unique build. The whole idea behind this build is just different, okay? I just want something different. We've all seen the same builds over and over. This car is just different. It's got lizard skin floor. I put that on. Go watch the video on that if you want to. And I recently just did all the wiring, okay? So we've got distribution block back there, the ECU, the 4 control pack. It's all wired and working, which means I can turn the key on and the relays click and the engine's ready to go. So now you get where I'm at. You see where we're going here. Good. Now I'm a man of my word. Let's look at this. I want to forget, add to my fridge here. Everyone knows the name Dakota Digital, but do you know of the new RTX series? Okay. I was going back and forth on putting gauges in this car, or Dakota Digital gauges. If I were to put a gauge in the car that was not stock, I would have gone with Dakota Digital anyways, because I want to keep the factory the plaque, the factory wood, okay, the surrounding. I want to keep that. I want to keep that look. So I was going to use Dakota Digital, or looking into using Dakota Digital. And I was like, yeah, I don't really need digital gauges. You know, everything's going to work just fine. I like the stock ones. It's fine. Until I came out with this one, or until he came out with this one. So if you're not familiar with the RTX series, guys, go to dakotadigital.com. Take a look at these new RTX series gauges. Oh my God. We're gonna look at this together. I haven't opened anything except for the box. Everything is still wrapped and packaged. I have purchased 2 part numbers here. I have purchased the gauge themselves. Comes with the sending unit, sensors, wires, harness, instructions, more instructions and wires and harness, okay? Comes with this. This is 1 part number here. I'll put the part number down below. And this is the golden jewel here. I purchased this separate unit. You know why? Let me tell you why. This is a BIM-01-2 module. You know what this is? This is it right here. Okay? This is an OBDII interface. Okay? Yes, they have this now. Don't have to run all the wiring anymore. You know what you got to do? Plug this guy into here. Plug this into this wire in the back of the gauges, plug this into the box, and plug this into your OBDII port, which now, of course, I have because we just wired the 4 control pack for the 2.3 liter. Plug this in, and boom, all your gauges just work, except for a couple of them. We'll get to that. But all of them work. Hey, man, once I found that out, I was like, oh my God, yes, let's do this. But God, wait, let's look at these gauges. These are so cool. So I don't want to make this a detailed, super long how-to video like most of my videos end up being. I say that. It's a lie, isn't it? But I am going to get this installed and we're going to look at it together. You have to check out these gauges. The best way to do that is to look at them online. These have 2 digital screens in them now and infinite color selection. You can pick and choose your own color. They have a ability to dim. You can hook them into your light switch. Turn the light switch on, the gauges will auto dim. But the digital panel on these is really where it's at, man. The digital panel is so perfect for us guys doing modern engine swaps. Coyote guys, you're doing Godzilla, LS, whatever the case is. The screen is going to be where it's at, because if you have a 10R80, 6R80, like a lot of guys are running in these cars here, this has the gear selection, what gear you're in, all that kind of stuff that you have on a modern engine is going to have the ability on these gauges here. Fuel setup, this is awesome too. So check this out. Yes, all these ohms are programmable. So if you have any kind of sending unit in your fuel gauge, for your fuel gauge, you can type in the ohm. It shows you the ohm level. So you can adjust and set your fuel gauges with this, or do it manually, which means it'll work with essentially any single fuel gauge. We have a setup menu. This is all the setup menu. You can hook this into your phone and you can set up through your phone. I mean, this is just absolutely loaded. So I got a plastic cover over it. I don't want to peel off the plastic yet. Okay, you can see how pretty it's gonna look. We don't want to go there yet. So this is the gauges. This is very solid. It's very heavy. It just feels like a solid piece of computer equipment, really. All these gauges are, of course, going to be digital, and these are your 2 screens I'm talking about. So unlike the VHX series, where you've got 2, I guess, digital displays here, you don't have digital screens like you have. These are 2 colored screens here that tells you all a bunch of information. I think we could put boost in here, boost gauge in here. We can set up the thing, odometer, trip, miles per gallon you're getting, how much left, how many miles left till empty, all that kind of things that we're familiar with on our modern cars. You have the capability with this. It's got, you know, turn signals built into it. Brights, lights is hooked into the display. Check engine lights hooked into the display, the color display. So this is going to be so much like a modern car, but for your 4-eyed Foxbody back here. It's going to be really neat. So that's the gauges. This is the main brain control module brain thing here. So actually, I said this plugs directly into here. What happens, I think, and I haven't gone through this. This is my first time installing Dakota Digital. But what's going to happen is this will plug out of here into here, and then this will plug into your gauges with a thicker cable, this guy here, and feed all the information for OBDII. So OBDII to here, to there, into the gauge. Everything reads. We're going to have to run the speedometer separately. This is not a GPS speedometer from the vehicle speed sensor. It's on the side of the T5. They make this easy for you guys. You've got all your outputs here. Here's your display cable that goes out to the gauges. There's for your switch, your BIM IO, that's going to be coming from the OBDII sensor over here. That'll plug right in the side of here. And then you've got, here's all your gauges, your status lights and everything. I mean, they make this about as easy as you can possibly get. If you're running all your gauges manually, you can do that. It's got cruise control capabilities. So there's your speedometer out, your tachometer out, your warning lights, and then your ignition key on power, constant power and ground. It's self-explanatory. We got to find somewhere nice and neat to mount this, get this all set up, and then yeah. Thing is pretty mint. This car is in very, very, very good shape. The first thing I do after we remove the cluster is they want you to go ahead and just kind of push this back. Now they tell you to remove the speedometer cable. My speedometer cable's already been removed. I removed it whenever I did the engine compartment and everything. So they just tell you on this one, just push these back to give room for the RTX series, which by the way stands for Retro Tech or something like that, which is really cool. I'm trying to decide where to put the control box. Now for me, I like the idea of kind of having it behind the cluster. It kind of makes sense to me. So let me kind of go over what I'm doing. I'm just kind of running things through my head here. Nothing is really set in stone or permanent. I'm just laying things in here, trying to get an idea what will fit. But this does fit right here. And I think I can make this work with the tabs that it has in the control box. Right now, the only thing that's plugged in is the main cable, which comes from the back here of the cluster and into the control box. So I'm just putting it in here. I'm like, oh, will it fit? You kind of loosely run it in here and set the gauges over it, and it fits just fine. So that's kind of cool. So I figured, well, I'll just make this work. I'll make a mount for it. And then I was like, well, let me go ahead and run the OBDII cable. It was simple. I've got my OBDII port down here, plugged it in, ran the cable back behind the dash. It's right here. So it will plug into the module. Let me go through what I just did here. So pretty simple. I want to get these cables tied up even better than they are now. But we've got the BIM-02 module here. The cable snakes back. It is going into my OBDII port right there, behind the dash, underneath here, into this spool behind the dash, and then just right into the module. The output from the module is these colored cables here, and that's plugged into the main computer harness. Now I've got everything in place here. So I screwed on the BIM module. So I screwed on the BIM module using some old Foxbody screws here, interior screws. So that's not going anywhere. It's just into the plastic here. Okay, so I got the BIM module screwed into the back of the plastic dash. You gotta be careful. There's a wire harness running down here. So I had to make sure I raised this up enough so it did not hit the wire harness that's behind here. I gotta make sure every time you drill through here, it harnesses. not being hit. Over here on the main computer harness, I went ahead and just notched the plastic back here. And again, I made sure that there's nothing in the way. And I used my Dremel, cut the plastic. So one of the ears on the computer module just clicked in here. And then on this side, I'm just gonna put a screw up there to hold it in place. But you can see it's pretty well in place. Once I put a screw there, it's not gonna go anywhere. And what's cool is it's all hidden behind the cluster. The cluster, as you can see here, fits just fine. The cluster fits just fine. So that's what we're gonna do next, is put the cluster on and then move forward with clipping the wood cover there, because you got to do some modifications to that to make this fit. Oh, and I forgot to mention the buzzer. See, I can slide this out. So there's the notch I put in it. The tang on that will just slide into that notch, but I went ahead and mounted the buzzer in that little slot back there. It's like perfect. So it hides behind everything. Now everything is containerized within the dash, not underneath it, not hanging down, not in the, you know, glove box or stereo. Right there. Look how good a shape this thing's in. This is why I'm using it, and it's just cool, man. Retro plastic wood. We need to remove this and this. That way this is as flush as possible. Now to do that, they're saying what you need to do is clip it as well. It doesn't really tell you how exactly to do it. So you need to be pretty careful trying to remove these. You can see these are heat welded. Basically just smash the plastic around here. Get a blade underneath it, we can cut that plastic. Like that. Be careful doing this. You do not want to break the stock one. Or the blade. Got a new blade. This popped off. Hey, since these are no longer used anymore, Dakota Digital gives you a plate. This is like really thick plastic, and it's got a shiny side. They want you to peel the plastic off. Actually, it looks almost as thick as glass. It's pretty shiny. And they want you to silicone it down on here to cover it up, like so that whenever it is glued and dried down, you just get shiny, you know, shiny things there. So we're replacing all our warning lights with, of course, the digital screen. So I need to find a way to do this. I don't really, they say use silicone. I'm not sure if I love silicone. You know, when you get it on the front, if I get any on the shiny part and you can see it, it's hard to get off till it dries. You can peel it off and stuff like that. So I don't know. I may use hot glue. See how that holds? I don't anticipate anybody poking through this, and it'll be dry. That way I can use it. Okay, we don't want to slide it. Leave it like that. Hot glue. Crafts, that's right. Okay, so here's where we're at. So I've got the shroud here. I've called it 3 different names now. I've clipped and ready to test on. I've got this just kind of temporary up, and I went ahead and plugged in. I forgot the remote, just so you can, you know, navigate the gauges. So we got the the remote hooked up. I'm gonna find a better spot to put that, but it's behind it right now. And I thought, you know what, hey, we've gone this far, so of course I want to see what it looks like. I've got the power hooked up to it. I've got the BIM module hooked up, the OBDII module hooked up to it. And I want to see what it looks like, don't you? I mean, come on, man, we're here. Yes, I know speedometer's not hooked up, and we still have to run a lot of stuff, but hey, you know, it's sometimes you got to like short victory it here, right? I mean, just so you can like get some motivation. It's really hard with one hand, bro. Yeah, that's rad. Yeah. Look at that, guys. It is sick. Now, we have a warning light here on the fuel. Well, because the fuel gauge isn't hooked up. It's also saying fuel open, which is awesome because it's basically telling me, hey, Mike, I can't read your fuel gauge. Well, of course you can. I don't have a gas tank back there. Oil and everything is already set. So I lied. This is not the first time I turned it on, okay? But for you it is. I'm doing this for you. But I did turn it on. I've been playing with it. I hooked up the clicker here. Now remember the speaker I put in the back? It's not a buzzer. It's a clicker. Listen. Yeah, and it clicks through the menus here. We've got quarter mile, 8 time. It'll calculate that for us. 0 to 60 timing. And the standard clock here with the odometer and trip, which is neat. And a service timer, which is great. A timer. And range not set, which means I think the speedometer still needs to be calibrated. We haven't hooked it up yet. So we got water temperature, oil pressure, and battery voltage, which is getting low because I've been playing with it. And I did set the color. Yes, I did. I know. I couldn't help myself. Guys, this is the coolest damn thing I've ever seen in my life for Foxbody. Look at these gauges in here. Seriously. Now I know I got to take the stickers off and the plastic. I didn't want to do that because I'm not done installing it. But you get it. Just ignore that and ignore that for now and look at that. Dude, is that not sick? I want to put this clicker somewhere. I want to put it somewhere where it's accessible, but also not obnoxious and kind of in the way. And I went ahead and left. I got to bolt those down. That's loud. Really, realistically, all I have to do is get on the wiring diagram and find the indicator lamp and pull the wires back out from the main harness that went into the dash and just tap into those. I think that's going to be the easiest way to do it. So I want to tap in our turn signals. I want to tap in our brights, and we'll need to tap in. We'll need to actually get the car up a little bit, and I'll have to go tap into the transmission into the side of the T5. The headlight switch, I need to turn into the headlight. So the bright switch will turn on the bright indicator, let me know the brights are on. The headlight switch, whenever it turns on, I need to dim these. So I got to decide if I want the headlight switch to dim the gauges or the parking lamp to dim the gauges. I think I'm gonna do headlight. So I think whenever the headlight switch is on, this will trigger this and dim the gauges automatically for nighttime driving. God, this is sick, dude. I want to get this in my 86. So I'm trying to find in the wiring diagram here, which is not very big, the indicator lights. I can't find it. Let me show you. Come over here, let me show you this. So the wiring diagram on it, 79 Mustang, is actually pretty small. There's not a lot to it. But you got things here like your front of the car, realistically, back of the car. Up here is gonna be most of your dashboard HVAC switches and stuff. Clutch pressure switch, speed sensors. You got, I mean, it's self-explanatory. Right here we got printed circuit connections, which is gonna be this guy right here. But still, I can't find indicator lights, and I know I'm just looking wrong. I gave up. So what I did was decided to just look at it myself, figure it out. So hey, put a dash down, cluster down on its face like so. Obviously, these are gonna be my blinkers, right? This is gonna be the left-hand turn signal. This is the right hand because it's flipped backwards. One of these is my bright indicator. It should be right here in the middle of the speed. So this guy right here, so that's some brights. Now I'm looking at these. It's obvious which circuit here is going to be, let me get something I can point with here. It's obvious that when we're in a circuit here, you're gonna see the ground. So I mean, the ground is gonna be sharing both sides of these two bulbs. Obviously that's not the indicator that turns it on because they wouldn't be able to be sharing it. So the center connection here is your ground. So you can follow this, and now I know that this guy right here is ground, and it probably goes everywhere throughout the board. But I also know on the left hand that this circuit follows this little line here, there, and then right there. So now I know that on the printed connection that this pin is going to trigger the left turn signal. Let's find the right one. The right one's right here. I'm gonna go down here, follow the circuit board. Oh, look at that, it's right here. So all I have to do now is just go back in the car and just count. And then I'll just test it with a multimeter. That's a lot easier than the schematic diagram schematic. The circuit was spot on. I've got my multimeter set here. And I found the second to the bottom wire here on this pin. And sure enough, it's really low voltage. My battery's low, but it's 9 volts. When it clicks on, and then when it clicks off, it goes to nothing. I can turn this off, and it goes away. So, do the other side. There it is, there's that one. So now I've identified both left and right surge signals. I'm just gonna put a tap in it, T into it, put it into the computer here. Well, some of them here, like, it'll tell you. So the left and right, it needs a positive signal from the left and right signal. High beams, it needs a positive from the high beams. The brake, it needs a ground, and I guess for the engine, ground. For dimming, it needs positive as well. So just depending on the polarity, you need to make sure you watch the polarity on the sensor. So I'm really taking a notice on everything they have here. Like, really stop and look at all the inputs. It's really cool. They got the dimmer input, which we haven't hooked up yet. Engine, I need to read about. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it's a check engine light or something. But the brake input, I saw this, I was like, okay, they got a brake input. Well, it says brake negative. Well, the Foxbody's brake is negative. The switch right here is negative. So, yeah, if I touch this here on the panel, when this is lifted up, the emergency brake light comes on. So that is pretty cool. Well, I gotta get the headlight switch out, or at least drop it, because I need to see the wires behind it so I can turn the fancy dimming feature mode on. So when I turn the headlight switch on, it needs to tell the computer that they're on so that it dims the lights and sets whatever theme you want on the gauges. Ever wonder how to get one of these switches out of the car? I'm gonna show you real quick. It's not that hard. Well, it's not that hard unless you've got big hands, which I don't, but it is pretty tight. So if you can imagine this switch here, your wiring harness is coming on this side of the switch. It's kind of angled like a box like this. Your wiring harness is up here, and there's a metal plate down here. In the middle of the back part of the metal plate, about right here on the switch, there's a button. So what you want to do, and you could just snake your hand in there if you're crafty, you could squeeze it in there. So right now I got my thumb pushing on that switch. It's about right here, pushing this way. So take your headlight switch, put it all the way out, push that butt in, boom. So now the knob comes out. You need a special way to unscrew this ring. This ring is actually what holds the headlight switch in place on the dashboard. Let me show you how I do that. So you can use anything here, anything really just flat and broad with a lot of leverage that doesn't strip this out. This is actually plastic, so you want to be careful you don't round it out and strip it out and really screw up your light switch like so many of them are. This is in such good shape, but I found the biggest, broadest flathead that I've got, and just position it and just kind of carefully turn it. There we go. And also for this, just because there's a lot of power going through this switch, I turned the battery off, unplugged the battery. So that's it. So this is plastic, you gotta be careful. This will strip out. You don't wanna over tighten it either. And now your headlight switch is located back behind here. Okay, so this is where we're at. We have everything hooked in. I've got everything taped up, kind of nice and neat-ish. We have the dim hooked in. Okay, this is hooked into the headlight switch. Now when the headlight switch is on, it's going to tell the computer to dim or turn on night mode. I've got the brake light switch hooked up. I had a little bit of a hard time getting the harness to work from behind the dash for the brake light switch. Obviously, it turns on an indicator into the old stock dash or cluster, but I couldn't find that cord. I just couldn't find the wire. The wire that was there was not working, and actually the stock one was never working, so I ended up tapping it into the harness right here that just goes straight to this color right here. So I didn't run a new wire. I tapped into the harness there, and that's a blue wire, and it is ran up here into the brake. Of course, we got the high and we got the left wired. So really the only thing left to wire up is going to be the speedometer. Remove the retaining clip, put in the plug, replace the speedometer cable with a provided plug, okay, reinsert the retaining clip to keep it in place, and then just splice into the gray and black VSS Plus wire at the speed sensor. Here's the deal, the sensor should be there. I don't think the harness is, well, because I used it. That transmission came out of this car, which is now rocking a TKO 600. So I used the vehicle speed sensor out of it, or it's probably still plugged in. I'm guessing it's still plugged in. I don't think MicroSquirt needs it or cares about it, but it's there. So let's go see what we got under here.
All right, so what I've got here is the speed sensor. That is it right there. It's nasty, it's kind of dirty. I don't have the plug in it. So you can see there is the plug right there. Tidy this up, hook it up, and then I've got this wire here which goes to a 6R80, which of course we're not using, but I don't want to get rid of because I might switch to a 6R80 automatic in this car one day. So I want the harness there. But this is it. So we need to put the plug into here. It's in really bad shape. It's kind of gross and dirty. The transmission doesn't have fluid in it anyway, so I think what I'm going to do is clean this out, take it off, clean it out, and then I'm going to have to locate a harness from somewhere. I don't know where. All right, I've cleaned her up a little bit. Sprayed some brake clean on it. I still got to clean up this bracket. Holds it onto the transmission. It's all pretty nasty. I'm missing a couple pieces here, so we're missing the harness. I got to get the harness, and I've got to get the clip that holds this in place. So this is the plug. That's what we're looking for here. It goes into there, plugs into there. You're supposed to have a wire clip that goes into here and clips into place. It goes boop, right through that slot there, holds it in place and holds the speedometer cable in place. I'm assuming it's somewhere because, I don't know, I gotta go dig. I got a lot of parts here. Maybe I'm lucky I can even find a vehicle speed sensor harness somewhere in the garage. If not, we're gonna have to order it or call up some buddies and see if we can find someone who has one of the used parts bin. So otherwise, we're kind of stuck right now until we get this fixed. So we may not be able to finish the video until I get the speed sensor in, but it's real simple. This is just two plugs. There's a positive, there's a negative. We'll find a plug for it, and we'll create a harness that goes up into the Dakota Digital computer for the vehicle speed sensor, and it should just work. You can calibrate it then after the car's on the road, which of course isn't gonna happen right now anyways. So let's see what we can find. Boop, add to cart. All right, so we don't have a vehicle speed sensor, so we can't actually test the speedometer, but listen, I can't even start the engine anyways. The car's being built, so we're kind of stuck at where we're at. But before I end this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about the setup, the electronics of it. So first, let me show you what we've done here. Let's go ahead and get to the, to the turn signals. So check it out, turn signals. Cool. I actually had a bad relay too, so change the relay out. Okay, turn signals work good. Now watch this. Brake. Boom. So a little light came on right there, see? Turn the brake off. Boom. So emergency light works, our emergency brake light works, handbrake light. And check this out. Okay, here we go. This is going to turn on when I turn the headlight switch on. I was able to find the wire in here that is just for the headlights. I decided to turn the dim feature, night feature on when the headlights are on, not the parking lights. It's up to you. If you want your parking lights on and back, you can do that as well. I chose to do this when the headlights are on. So headlights on, and boom, they go red. So right now I've got it set night mode to red. Guys, all this is configurable, how bright you want it, the color you want it, everything. So I've got it going half brightness and all red for nighttime driving. It's pretty kick ass. And check this out. Yes, the bright light works. Now, this is so configurable. Not only does it have the indicator light here on the gauge itself, but it also has it in the panels. You could turn that on or off. That feature can be turned on or off. And guys, I don't have the time to go over every single feature, but I did want to talk about the setup and what it took to get this thing kind of started and get you familiarized with setting these gauges up from the app. For instance, you notice I have boost now. Yes, boost is in there. So the way that these work, you've got the toggle button down here. You have the right rocker is the number 2 and the left rocker is number 1. If I hit the right side, it cycles through the menus. These menus are configurable. How many menus or how many screens you have is also configurable. Right now I've got it set to 4. So this is all default. Now notice the fuel is open. So to get rid of this warning light, we could hold down the right hand button and that will clear that. You could also make this alarm from the light itself or from the buzzer. When I first turned the car on, this popped on and guess what? The the buzzer was hit, it was going off. So you can clear that and change it from buzzer to no buzzer. I'm going to show you that. We're going to go through the menu real quick here, but to set this thing up, the first thing I had a hard time doing was getting the lights to come on. So from the default, when you turn this on, you first plug in the lights, the daytime lights were not on.
even though I set it up in the app, it still wasn't sticking, and I think I was just familiarizing myself with the app. So I ended up doing it from the menu, and that worked. Let me show you how to get into the menu. So you turn the car off, you hold down the right-hand side, which is number 2, and of course I cannot do this with one hand. You turn the car anyway, so what you'll do is you'll hold this to number 2, and you'll turn the key on while this is being held on the right toggle. See, it's a momentary switch. You hold the right toggle, turn the car on. Okay, when you do that, you get the setup menu here. So now we have the setup. So what's cool about this is you can set up everything. The first thing is Bluetooth. You got speedometer, your tachometer, your voltmeter, your water meter, your oil, your fuel. Your fuel is going to be able to check. You could change your ohms to pick up the correct ohms that matches your sending units. Oil, water, temperature, all that stuff is how you want the signal coming in. Right now I have it set to the BIM module because it knows it has a BIM module. It'll just pick that up from the computer, the ECU. Lighting, of course, is a huge menu. It's a lot easier to use the lighting one with the app. BIM is going to, tell whether or not you're using a BIM, which is the OBDII. Displays is how you set up these actual color displays here. Gear selection, odometer. You set the odometer. You have the option to set the odometer. You have until 100 miles to change it. After 100 miles, it locks in. So you can match, your stock setup, which is really nice. It doesn't just force you to 0 because that doesn't make sense if your car has miles on it. So I haven't decided what yet to do here because the car does have miles on it, of course, but it's been mostly rebuilt. The warning output, the sound, extra label. Guys, there's a lot going on here. I found it easier just to use the Bluetooth. Now, let me show you how to use the Bluetooth feature. What you do is you have to turn it on from here first, manually. So we go to Bluetooth. Now we're selecting it. We press and hold the right button. Okay. So you have it off, setup only, or always on. Right now it's set up on setup only, which means as soon as you go into the setup, which is what we're into right now, then the phone will pick it up via Bluetooth. Dakota Digital App, which I've got right here, it's going to come up and it automatically finds a controller. So there is the controller right there. And then now we're into it. So now you can see what I change here is going to alter the gauges. First thing you want to do though is go into setup and do some simple stuff like Bluetooth. So Bluetooth already set. The lighting, of course, is what we're into now. Display is going to change the displays. Let's go into display here. So here's your information pop-up and your warning pop-ups, everything you could do here. So you could tell you what screen. So when I do this, it says, okay, location number 2. Well, it shows you up here now. These have changed to numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So basically you could choose what square you want your warnings to pop up on. That's why the fuel warning is always coming down on 2. So you can select and choose that. Screen indicators right now is off. What this screen indicators is it turns on your indicators, your indicator lamps to a screen also. So things like the turn signal and the brights and stuff like that will also be displayed down there. And I guess it's because if you have a gauge where you didn't want to use these or you didn't want to have the actual light up here, you wanted everything to be on a gauge, you could do that. I tried that out. I liked it better just showing up here on the cluster and up here on the lights where it should be the stock location. Okay, and you could also go back into now your max screen count. I have added a screen. I'll show you why in a second. And then you can do a group set, which allows you to adjust each group. So when I'm using that toggle over there and I'm cycling through the screens, you can set that. So right now, for instance, let's look at this. Group set A is going to show you the range, the trip, B, service, and timer, which is, you can see up here, range, service, timer. Range is how much miles till fuel, right? Or how much fuel you got left till empty. And you could change this to say like B here. So now B, I've got volts, fuel, water, and oil, which you can see there, which it's picking up because the water temperature is matching essentially what's in the garage. Yesterday was 78, now it's 67, so I know it's working. Oil is 0, and then your battery voltage there, so it's kind of cool. And then, and so on and so on. So you can just, there's your 0 to 60. It's got some performance metrics. It'll calculate 0 to 60 time, your high speed, your quarter mile and eighth mile time. I don't know how to actually trigger that, but it is on here and it is capable. So we'll have to deal with that when the car is actually being driven. And then the gear position. So if you do have an automatic and you want to select your automatic gear position, there it is right there. So there's your display setup. Lighting, let me show you this. So again, when you first turn it on, the daytime lighting wasn't set. You actually have to turn it on right here. So it says daylight. By default, it's off. So whenever you first, you know, turn the key on, it was actually not lit. So you had to turn this on. And then night light intensity will tell you, you know, how bright you want your night to be. Intensity is going to be everything. Now you're talking about everything, guys. We're talking about the display intensity, the faceplate, the needle. Everything is selectable here. Let's do max. I'm not sure what max is. Okay, max is actually a little bit brighter. Okay, cool. We'll leave that on max now. Customize and theme. So it has baked in themes, guys. This is kind of just real easy. You could set a theme. Right now I've got it set on white hot, which I like. It's just bright white, different colors. Ice hot, we'll select that. I'll show you the difference here. Ice hot, incandescent, gives it kind of a warm glow. Ice hot's more of that blue look, and then white hot's more of a white, which I like. So we're gonna keep it on white hot. Then your night colors here. Everything I've done has been under customize. Customize, yeah, this is everything is customizable. We're talking about your face gauges, your face pointers, your display labels, for day and for night. This is all customizable. For instance, I have my night set to red, so you can see it's all red here, and it's changed red there like this. So if I wanted, I don't know, let's just say blue. You are, what is it, pink? It's almost a pink color. Red. I mean, guys, this is all day long. There's my needles now are blue. Just make everything blue, you know? Readings. Now this is gonna help. This is basically what you force to your OBDII. So first thing I did was go in and set the clock. It'll set it to your, this will set it to your phone. Speedometer setup. This is gonna be how you auto calculate, auto adjust, everything, your service interval, your units, where the signal's coming from. Right now it's going to be under sensor. Because this BMI doesn't pull a speed sensor, there's no vehicle speed sensor for the Ford control pack. We have to use it, you know, the regular VSS sensor, which is fine. And we got things like text. So the one thing I did go through here and do was click on water and oil. So here's your warnings threshold. So right now we say, okay, at 11 volts to give you a warning. High volts gives you a warning on 16.5. Water input is coming in from BIM. You can see right there. So you want that coming in from OBDII, and you want your oil coming in from OBDII from the BIM also. Low warning at 10 PSI, high warning at 230. Now this is pretty neat. If you select this, so say I had it at like 230, but you know, you go to 220. Let's try 220 here. Done. So boom, it shows you 220. It turns on the warning so you can kind of see how it is too. So there's 220. Let's do, you know, let's just say you want it at 170 for some reason, you know, I don't know. The gauge just dropped down to 170. So I've got it right now set to 230. I really don't want the engine to get anything over 230. So, and same deal with your oil pressure. So if your oil pressure goes under, let's just say I don't like it, anything under 15. So now we got 15, now light comes on. It turns on to show you your setting, which is really kind of cool. So 17 goes up a little bit. How about we set it to, I don't know, 30. I don't know why you want to do that, but you could do low oil pressure at 30. I'm going to change this back to 10. There. So 10 PSI. So that's all set up. That's all forced to go through my BIM, which is the OBDII module. And that's really it. The tachometer setup, same deal. I have this going through the BIM also. So once the engine's started, it'll just pull straight from the computer and boom, it's going to work. So I'm not too worried about setting that up. Fuel setup is how I was showing you earlier. You can do your own custom learn where you can actually hold your fuel sending unit to its lowest value and to its full value, and then it will pick up those ohms from the sensor and adjust your fuel gauge properly. Or you can go here and actually fuel input and select which one you want. So in this case, it's going to be a Ford, and I believe these are 7310 for the Foxbody, and then that's what it'll set to. So whenever I do plug that in, it will work. So that is kind of sort of it. Your BIM. Oh, let me show you this. Boost. So one thing that's important, I wanted to get boost in here. Well, to be able to pull custom things from the computer, I had to go into my BMI settings, or BIM settings. I keep saying BIM, BMI. So you search for BIM, and it found it for the boost. Now here's the deal. I couldn't do this from here. I actually had to go in to the module here manually and set up the BIM. So there was a whole instruction set on how to do that. Basically, the same way you put this into setup by turning the key on and then hitting the clicker, you have to push the button on the BIM module, turn the key on, and then select through, you see boost, and turn it on. So the OBDII module knows that it's able to pick up a boost sensor from the map sensor, and it's allowing it to go to the screen. Now that it's sending that signal into here, and guys, the instructions are pretty easy from Dakota Digital. It is pouring outside. It's pretty easy. So now that I did that, it shows up here as an additional module. So then I can go into my screens, like my displays, and then on my display group set, if we look at display group D, there we go. So display group D now gives me the option to set what I wanted. So I set up my own group here, and I wanted to put whatever I wanted in here, which is going to be, air temperature, speedometer, intake temperature, and boost. So boom. So now I've got a kind of a performance view that matches what I want. I've got my boost gauge over here, which also, check this out, I could change the boost gauge to, so right now it's digital, but I can also use a bar signal. And it's kind of cool, it's kind of different. So now when I go back into here, I'm going to go to display, and I go to group set, and we select group D, because that's the group that has the boost on it. Check it out. So now I've got a slider. So it's just a personal preference. If you want to do it this way, you can. Now it's got a slider bar. So guys, that is it. I know there's a lot more to setting these up, but that really is it. Once it's set, once you hit save, you just cycle it off and turn it back on, and it's all saved. Everything I just did through the app is configurable with the buttons. However, it's just a little difficult to navigate. I prefer the app, and it's stupid simple. It saves the last screen you're in. So in this case, I was in the last boost screen. That's pretty rad. I can clear the fuel signal. Goes back to my air temperature at 64. So it's very customizable. And guess what? I don't have to run a boost gauge. I love it right here on the dash, man. It's sick. All right, guys, that's a wrap. I'm going to end this video. I'm going to put it on demo mode so you can see an idea of all the different colors this thing can do. But hey, that's it, man. Thank you, Dakota Digital, for making such a pretty sweet product for our Foxbody Mustangs. It's awesome. Hey guys, make sure to follow me on Instagram. Why? Because I put stuff like this. I put how-to stuff sometimes, and I put stuff out there, content out there before you see it here on the channel. So check that out. Also go to houseofdoula.com. Why would one go to houseofdoula.com? Well, it's because it's got everything there. It's got my latest videos for the 86 turbo car. It's got the latest videos for Eagle Brus here. It's also got my Instagram feed, the Facebook group, and some tech articles there as well. You can also contact me through houseofdoula.com, so check that out. Or you can order yourself a sweet House of Doula t-shirt. If you want to get one of those to help the channel out, it's much appreciated. But guys, we're ending it here. Hey, thank you so much for watching. We got more content coming very soon here on House of Doula, so take care.